internships and career connection opportunities, how to introduce yourself to an employer, how to feel comfortable networking, all those fun things, right? So we hope you took advantage of that and enjoyed that as well. So today, as a culmination to our week, we're very excited to bring to you Brenda Gerber Vincent. And let me introduce you to her. She has quite a wonderful story. So Brenda has had a very compelling career story and life journey. She serves as the Vice President of Community and Corporate Impact at Greater Fort Wayne, working on projects that link community and corporate partnerships. She has served as the Chief of Staff for Indiana's First Lady, Karen Pence, in 2013. And in 2018, she was awarded the Indiana Commission on Women's prestigious Heart of Indiana Torchbearer Award. Brenda also serves on the board of directors for Carriage House, which she co-founded. And through this organization, Brenda helps people recover from mental illness and reintegrate into their communities. So let's say she's just one busy lady with a true passion for helping others and improving our community. So please join me and give a very warm grace welcome to Brenda Gerber Vincent.
Thank you, Denise, and thank you to all of you. It is wonderful being here. I've got here a little bit early this morning, and the energy in this room is just terrific. I kept walking around going, this is such a beautiful facility. Am I blocking your view over here? I'll move this over here a little bit. Okay. As Denise said, my name is Brenda Gerber Vincent, and I am the Vice President of Corporate and Community Impact for Greater Fort Wayne, Inc., and couldn't be more excited to be growing Northeast Indiana. And I was telling Denise earlier that we universities are a big part of bringing students in, and we want you to fall in love with Northeast Indiana, with Warsaw, with Fort Wayne, with the surrounding area, because we want you to stay. So there's my plug for Greater Fort Wayne, Inc. But it is a pleasure and an honor to be here this morning to talk to you. There's a few people I want to recognize. I want to recognize Jackie. Jackie invited me to a career class, I think it's been 2 years ago, that she asked me to speak, and I came and I spoke, and it was a wonderful experience, and then to get invited back was quite an honor, so thank you, Jackie. Denise, thank you. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Thank you for what you do here at the university. It's been wonderful to get to know you just in this short time. We've been sharing stories back and forth. And Brent, where's Brent? I don't know where he went, but wow, I'm impressed. There he is, back in the back. So thank you, and to the sound, thanks you guys for making me feel very, very welcome. I would be remiss if I didn't point out the fact that my husband, Scott, is here. He is a huge support in my life. My father is here. I don't know where he's at, but I think he's here. He's back here, I understand, with my brother, Jeff, and my sister-in-law, Deb. Now, they had two children, who were students at Grace, Bryce Glock and Brandon Glock. Those are my two nephews, and then they have Faith, who went to Taylor. But they're here with me as well, so I appreciate their support and their love. So let's get started. And here's what I did. I left my clicker over there. So it's a good thing my husband's here. Isn't he handsome? Okay, very thankful for him. But as I'm standing here, I'm like, let's move on. Well, I'm unable to move on. Okay, so really we're going to talk about careers. I know you guys have been talking about careers all week. And for some of you, you know exactly where you want to do and where you want to go. And for some of you, you have absolutely no idea of what it is that you really want to do in life. When I talk about passion, I really want to use the words making a difference. So when we talk about making a difference, what does that look like? And it looks like a lot of things to a lot of people. So we're going to get started. And when I talked to Jackie, I said, no, this is a 3-day conference, right? And she said, no, you have 35 minutes. So I'm going to take a whole lot of information, and I'm going to condense it down, and we're going to go really fast. But before I start, I would like to say my own prayer. So if you'll bow your head. Dear Lord, I thank you for this amazing opportunity to pour into students, future leaders, people who will make an impact in our country and in our world. Dear Lord, the prayer that I always pray is I hope my life reflects your love. In your name we pray, amen. So let's talk about leading your life and not just living it. So you're getting all kinds of messages from the world. Be bold, be strong. Your voice is needed. Change the world, be informed, get engaged, right? It's all really overwhelming. I will tell you there's one piece of advice that I share with every young leader, and I have the privilege of mentoring young leaders. I feel like it's my obligation, it's my responsibility as a leader at this stage in my life to be pulling up leaders so we make sure that this next generation is ready to lead. The one piece of advice that I will give you is to show up. Show up. Show up to class. Show up in your life. Show up for your friends. Show up for your family. Show up. Now, I could stop my speaking presentation right now because this one piece of advice has made a huge impact in my life. Showing up. I can remember when I was a senior in college, and I was lucky enough to serve as the president of the Indiana University Student Foundation, and we were the organization that put on the bike race. I don't think I had slept many hours in that week leading up to it, and I received a call. They said, hey, we have a gentleman and his daughter coming to IU. Would you be available to give a tour on Saturday morning? Well, this was the day of the race. So I asked a few of my coworkers, and I said, hey, does anybody want to do this? The catch is, it's at 7 a.m. Well, you can imagine nobody really wanted to get up at 7 a.m. the day of the race. So I showed up, and I'm thankful that I did. When I showed up at 7 a.m. to give that tour that morning, a gentleman by the name of Randy Tobias showed up with his daughter Paige. Now, what I didn't know, that Randy Tobias was the youngest CEO in our entire country, and he was in charge of AT&T, headquartered in Basking Ridge, New Jersey, and his daughter Paige, who wanted to see the university. So I gave that tour, and we had a wonderful time. Now, I will tell you that I probably didn't do a very good job with the tour because she ended up going someplace else. But I will tell you, because I showed up, my first job out of college was with AT&T in Basking Ridge, New Jersey. Randy Tobias, who then went on to be the CEO of Eli Lilly in Indianapolis, was a mentor and a friend throughout my career. Very thankful to be mentored by such a strong leader. Just recently, I will give you an example of showing up. Denise mentioned that I was in economic development for Allen County. A gentleman who lives in our community had invited 4 people from around the country to come to Fort Wayne for kind of a red carpet tour. And again, I said, I'll do it. I had no idea who these people were. I just knew that they were coming to our community, and I wanted to make a good impression. And I will tell you that I treat every single person that I meet exactly the same. It's something that I learned from my father at a very young age when I rounded with him, that he treated everyone the same, and I have used those examples my entire life. So I showed up. I showed up to give this tour. Come to find out that one of the gentlemen in the tour was the executive director of the Aspen Institute, the most prestigious think tank in the world called the Aspen Institute for Global Leadership. We spent 2 days together. We had fun. We sent them off. We hoped that they enjoyed our community. And 2 days later, I receive an email that says, from Cordell Carter, we would like you to attend as our guest the Aspen Institute. Again, I was really glad that I showed up. I'll be leaving for that institute in 2 weeks, and I couldn't be more excited. So if there's anything, I challenge you to show up in your life, to show up for other people, to show up for yourself, making sure that you're doing what you need to do. Okay, we're going to go over 3 areas, and we're going to go over them fairly quickly, but we're going to talk about interest versus passion. A great area that I love to talk about is the passion of no, or the really, like, how powerful your no is, and passion, putting that into action. So we're going to talk about things that we like. So as I'm going through this, I want you to think about things that you like. Now, these are things that I like. I like yoga, and I like bonfires, and I like driving the back roads, and I love state parks. But I can tell you that I have absolutely no desire to make a difference in any of these areas, right? So let's take yoga. I love going to yoga, but I don't want to own a yoga studio. I don't want to write a book on yoga, and I don't want to be a yoga instructor, but I like it. But it doesn't create a sense of urgency in me. It doesn't propel me forward. I don't want to make a difference in yoga. I see so many young people as they start out just simply not knowing what's important to them. What do they want to make a difference doing? So you have to be very clear about what you like and what you're passionate about. So although these are things that I do and that I really like, they're not things that drive me forward. So let's talk about things that I'm passionate about. And again, I interchange the word passion for wanting to make a difference. Faith, it's from where I make all decisions, my family, my friends, mental health, my health, and the list goes on. Now, I can tell you at this stage in my life that every single one of my passions fits on one PowerPoint screen. And it's from this list of passions, it's how I make decisions. People say to me all the time, how have you gotten to do the things that you've done and the positions that you've served and the people that you've been able to meet? It's because I've been very clear about what it is that I want to make a difference doing. Now, some of these, when you read them, think, wow, some of those I can't believe that you've picked as passions. Well, I will tell you, I will pick mental health, for instance. My brother Chad was diagnosed with schizophrenia when he was just 19 years old and a freshman. It was a devastating news for our family, and it's a devastating brain illness. And it certainly wasn't part of our plan, and it certainly wasn't a passion of mine. I can tell you that through his journey, I acquired an extra layer of understanding that only comes from life's challenges. I have learned that passion is often pain turned into purpose. Again, passion is often pain turned into purpose. And I can tell you that my family was resolute in wanting to help not only my brother, but other people suffering from mental illness. Now, my brother Chad lost his battle, and he died at the age of 29. And people said to us, you can walk away. You don't have to do this anymore. And we doubled down. We said, no, we are going to help other people who are fighting this disease have a quality of life. And that's exactly what we did. So really determine what it is that maybe you like, and then other things in your life that you want to make a difference doing. So passion is asking yourself what is really important, and then having the courage and the wisdom to build your life around that answer. And as you're talking about careers and thinking about what it is that you want to do, I hope that you'll be asking yourselves these questions. Now, when you talk about moving into a direction, so this slide is for all of my people pleasers. You know who you are. I won't make you raise your hand. But these are the people that say yes to absolutely everything, right? They say yes to everything. Their best friend says, hey, will you come to my book club? And you say yes. And another friend says, hey, will you be part of the debate club? And you say yes. And somebody says, hey, do you want to save the whales? And you say yes, right? And you find yourself doing everything everybody else wants you to do, right? To tell you, the more that you continue saying yes to other people's passions and what they want of you, it's exhausting. It will absolutely deplete you of energy. It's not sustainable. Do you hear me? But, I'm getting some feedback from the front row. I think this is resonating right here. It is. I just got a thumbs up. This is making a difference. But you have to make sure that you're not saying yes to things that aren't in your passion lane. Okay, so let's see what it takes when you start being clear about what it is that you really want to make a difference doing. This is what it looks like. When you start saying no to the things that you're not passionate about, and you start saying yes to the things that you want to make a difference doing, it puts you in a direction. You start doing things that are extremely important to you. So when we talk about when you make sure that you know what you want to do and you're saying no's and you're saying yes to the right things, you'll have more energy, you have more time, You have more confidence, more control, more respect, more fun. I don't know if you've ever done this, but when you've said yes to something and it goes on your calendar and you think to yourself, the minute you say yes, that, then you're like, why did I say yes to that? Why did I say I was going to do it? And how many hours you put into then, why did I say it? Right? So there's a nice way of saying, thank you for inviting me to be a part of that. You know what? It's just not really where I want to spend my time, but I will support you doing that activity. I promise you, once you get into areas of your passion, you will excel. You will be around people who will help you get there further, faster. Okay? And you can also, I call it a gut check. Things that either, I'm glad this is on video so I can get to hear that back, right? So the things that give you energy and the things that deplete you from energy. So I always say there's things that give you energy and you know because you're in the zone and you're buzzing and it feels good. And then there's things that take energy away from you. And people I say, like, how do you know? And I'm like, well, it's when my head hurts. Like, that's how I know. If I'm doing an activity and it's not coming easy and it makes my head hurt, I know that it's not something that I want to be doing. It doesn't come easy. So we want to be really careful about things that are important to us and things that we like. Okay, now let's put this passion into action. First of all, I would encourage you as you start with your careers to network. I started networking at a very young age, and that doesn't mean just exchanging cards. It means really digging deep into relationship building, taking an interest in other people, and people not like ourselves. I will challenge you to meet people who are different than you. I have learned over my life that I have learned the most things from people who couldn't be very different from me. And so I encourage you when you network that you seek out people who are different. I will tell you, I just got a new iPhone, and I went to the Verizon store, and they changed it, and the gentleman looked up to me, and he said, "You have 38,000 contacts." Right? I started networking at a very young age. So I encourage you. It is important that you build those bridges. It is important that you support others' dreams, and it is important that you have that support system around you. So things with, be intentional with your time. I will tell you that I'm very intentional about who I spend time with and what I spend time doing. Live with soft eyes. Live with eyes that see the best in others. Learn from people who are different than you. I've already touched on that. Know who you are. It's as important to know your strengths as it is your weaknesses. Know what you believe in. Know your facts. And become an expert in an area. I talk to a lot of young people, and I work with young people a lot, and I say to them, what do you believe in? And they'll share with me what they believe in, and I say, why do you believe in that? And there's really no why behind what you believe in. I challenge you, if you have an area of interest, find out everything you can about that topic. Read books on it. Meet people who do that. Be around people who that's their life interest. I promise you, when you show up and you know things about what you believe in, you will be one of the people at the table that will be participating in the conversation. You'll be a person showing up and taking interest if, in fact, you take the time to become a subject matter expert in areas that you believe. We'll run through these fairly quickly, but know what you bring to the table. Set goals and set more goals, especially as you're looking to figure out what it is that you want to do. Dream, be authentic, be humble, and pray. You all know the power of prayer, and it's something that I seek daily, if not many, many times a day. On the way over here, my husband and I prayed that God would just use me for His blessing and His glory as I stood up here today and hopefully impacting people in this room, that as they continue through life, that they'll do things that interest them, things that glorify God. So I get asked, I'm going to take a little bit of water, but I get asked, so what is the scariest thing you've ever had to do as a leader? Do you have any guesses what the answer would be? So the question is, what is the scariest thing you've ever had to do as a leader? Anybody? What'd you lead? Okay, one of the answers was lead. Anybody else up here? What's the scariest thing that I've ever had to do as a leader? Anybody? What is it? Conflict management. That's a good one. I have some great books for that. Because the better you are at conflict management, the better you'll be at managing a team. That's an important one, but it's not the scariest thing I've ever had to do. The scariest thing that I've ever had to do was I had to let go of what other people thought. I had to let go of what other people thought, not only of me, but I had to let go of what other people thought about what I thought about. Right? Because I wanted to be safe and I wanted to stay in a lane and I didn't want to really make waves. But I had to let go of all of that in order to follow my dream, my passion, the things that were in my song. And I refer to that as God's voice within us, right? We all have a voice. We all have that song that we hear leading us. And each one of us is different. We each have something different inside of us that's leading us in a different direction. But I had to let go of what people thought of me. Now, when Denise read my bio, I've had a lot of success in my life, and I'm very grateful for that, and I've worked very hard. But I will tell you that my challenges have defined every success in my life. It's been the challenges that have allowed God to use me in ways that I would have never been used had I not let go of what other people thought. What's not in my bio is the fact that I lead a recovery lifestyle. I have been in recovery for 12 years. I will celebrate 12 years of sobriety in August. Thank you. Thank you very much. Sobriety isn't something that you do and then you put it on the shelf. Sobriety is something that you pick up every single solitary day. It's the first thing I think about in the morning, and it's the last thing I think about at night when I thank God for one more day of sobriety. And I have put together almost 12 years, and for that I am extremely grateful. Now, after treatment, and I did go to treatment, after treatment, I got out, and with my personality and my perseverance, and I'm a little bit competitive, I was going to win recovery. I was going to be the best recovering person that had ever been in recovery. I was going to win. And I decided that I was going to climb the mountain. And I spent an entire year climbing a mountain. Because that's where I belonged, right? If I have to go through something like this, right, I belong on top of that proverbial mountain, right? The view is better. That's where leaders belong. And I kept climbing. And the weights on my back slowly started coming back. And I kept climbing that mountain, and I climbed that mountain for a year. And I made it. I got to the top of that mountain, and I thought, wow. And I threw my arms up in the air, and I went, I made it. I made it. With no humility at all. Man, I deserved to be at the top. The view was so good from up there. And I paused a second in my journey, and I heard God's voice. And it said, fruit grows in the valley. And I thought, what? Are you kidding me? Fruit grows in the valley? I just spent the last year of my life climbing this mountain. And you're telling me that fruit grows in the valley. So I walked down that mountain. And my last 12 years have been serving in the trenches. because that's where God needs me. Every day, serving in the trenches, and because I was able to let go of what other people thought of me, God has been able to use my life in significant ways. I have worked with hundreds of women to get them back on track. God has given me the strength to persevere and impact lives through my humbleness and through being honest about who I am. And I am forever grateful. So you have to figure out, what is it, the scariest thing you're going to have to do as a leader, and then break through that. So we just have a little bit more time left. I'm going to do two more things. This is a picture of my husband and I at the White House. We were invited to the White House Christmas party in December. And this is a picture of us in front of the famous door. And it is as beautiful as they talk about. It's a beautiful, there's lots of trees. But not only were we invited to the White House once last year, my husband and I were actually invited to the White House 2 times. We were there in January, and then we were invited back to the Christmas party at the White House in December. And I was excited. It was just something very surreal. And I have gotten to do some amazing things in my life. And I said before, I've gotten to meet a lot of really cool people and do cool things. As I was standing in the White House, I thought to myself, you know what? This is really cool. But as I stood there, I kept thinking to myself, like, how did I get here? Like, what is it that I did or what God had me do that brought me to this point, right? You just don't show up for the Christmas party at the White House. And as I really thought about it and really talked to myself about, like, what are the decisions that I've made in my life that have led to this point, and my yeses. They were my yeses. They were my yes to my faith. They were yes to my fundraising. They were yes to politics and policy. They were yes to event management. And they were yes to loving Indiana and Northeast Indiana. Those were passions of mine when I was 30 years ago. So those were passions, but all of those took a lot of work. So let me backtrack just a little bit, because I'm standing in the White House, and this invitation was from the Vice President and from the Second Lady of the United States, of whom I served both. I was Mike Pence's Deputy Finance Director, and I served as Karen Pence's Chief of Staff. So as I was standing there, I rewound my life for 30 years. And I've been a professional fundraiser for 30 years. And so when, at that time, Congressman Pence asked me to raise the money for his race, I was thrilled to do that. But it was because I had spent a lot of time working to be a reputable, effective fundraiser. My faith was very strong, and I thank my brother Jeff for that, who led me to a place of understanding my relationship with Christ. It was also through politics and policy. I am a politics junkie. You can ask my husband. It's the first thing I do when I get in at night is I turn on CNN, and then I go to another station, and then I ask him, what happened today? Do you know what's going on? It's the first thing I do in the morning. I turn on the TV to find out what happened during the night. But that was something that had happened a long time before Congressman Mike Pence had asked me to serve on his team. So I had been preparing. I had been moving in a direction through the things that I was passionate about that culminated in my husband and I standing at the White House in December. So I'll leave you with this. Mike Pence, our Vice President of our United States, what people may not know is that he ran for Congress twice and was defeated. He had 2 unsuccessful races to run for Congress that he did not get elected. Now, for some, it would have been easy to give up, right? Maybe after the first time, you would have quit. Maybe even after the second time, you would have quit. But Mike still had it on his heart that this is what he wanted to do. And he didn't give up. He knew that he wanted to persevere. And Mike and Karen were in Colorado, and Karen told me this story. It's also in their daughter's book, Charlotte. She outlines this story in her book. But they were at a ranch in Colorado, and they were discussing whether or not Mike would run for the 2000 race for the congressional seat that he ultimately won. So they're looking up, and there's a hawk that's soaring, and it's just being carried by the wind. And Karen says, "We'll do it if there's no flapping, that we will allow God to take us where he wants us to go. Because in the end, God's got this. God's got this, right?" So he decided to run based on the fact that there would be no flapping. So oftentimes you'll hear them say no flapping, and it's based on the story of watching the hawk soar through the sky, just relying on the strength that God had given them. And he and Karen set out and not only won that next congressional race, as you know, then won governor, and now sits in the vice president's position for the United States of America. Just think if he would have given up after that second time of running for Congress. I know for me, it gives me great pleasure and great honor to have not only served them, but it makes me feel confident about our country, knowing that we have a man and a woman, a husband and wife, Karen and Mike, who have such a strong faith leading our country. So to end, I challenge you all to be bold enough to use your voice, brave enough to listen to your heart, and strong enough to live the life you've always imagined. God has put a song on your heart. I hope you will listen to the words and you will follow what's important to you. So thank you again for inviting me to speak to you today, and welcome to our visitors. I hope you enjoy your visit, and I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.